Hello again. It is April 2nd. Actually, it's April 3rd. It's almost 2 a.m. This is my second video for Countdown to Retirement. 39 months, including the month of April, until June 2019, when my wife and I retire. I thought to help me cope with the next few years, making a video once a month of how I entertained myself the previous month. What books I read, what movies I watched, just chatting a little bit would be fun. Doing one a month makes it seem like not that long a time to go. Not that I'm trying to rush my life by, but it sure would be nice to get out of going to work every day and commuting and being able to do what I want to do. More time for reading, more time for just relaxing, not having to worry about when the weather's bad and getting to work and so forth. So I'm looking forward to it, but I don't want to rush my life by. But doing one a month, the number 39 doesn't seem so bad. So that's that. If you count it day by day, it's a little bit harder to deal with. That's a lot more time. So 39, I started with 40 months to go when I did my first video last time, the first one. So one down, this is my second one, and so far I haven't really said that much, but I'm just winging it and we'll see how it goes. So basically what I just said a few moments ago about entertaining how I entertain myself, it's basically like what I'm looking for is I like to read, especially. And I got into movies a few months ago. A lot of old black and white movies like Humphrey Bogart, Streetcar Named Desire with Marlon Brando. Just trying to keep myself entertained, help pass the time. So I did review books and movies, very short reviews in my last video. And this time I'm going to do that again and then go over something else that I did today, or yesterday now. It's Sunday. So on Saturday my family went to a bookstore. I'm going to show what I purchased. So first of all, I want to say that I forgot last month there was a book and a movie that I watched that I forgot to mention in my reviews. So one book that I read last month that I forgot about was God, the Most Unpleasant Character by Dan Barker. And that book, it was good. There was what I consider to be some errors in it, but the general idea of the book is true. That basically the God of the Bible is just like a monster and a terrible character, and that's what it is, a character. So many people take this stuff seriously. I don't get it. I don't understand why they're doing that. But that book, I made a note here, scary bedtime reading if you're into that sort of thing. It's just a monster of a character, the God of the Old Testament. Not that the other ones are any better. Okay, so on to books I read during the month of March 2016. I read The Oxbow Incident by Walter Van Tilburg Clark. That book was pretty good. I can understand why it's a classic, but this is what I wrote about it. This was a good book, told through the eyes of a cowboy, but it's not fast-paced by any stretch of the imagination. A lot of the story is simply a group of Western townsmen debating what to do about an alleged killing and cattle theft. I can see why it's considered a classic, but I think the ending could have been stronger. Still, it's a good book, if you don't mind a slow-moving story. It is character-driven. Not that much happens. Some stuff does happen, obviously, but it's just not like really an action-based story. But it was good. I understand why it's a classic, and I would recommend it. The Light in the Forest, I read. That's by Conrad Richter. I realized here that I wrote down the names of the books I read and some notes about the books, and I didn't write the author's name, so hopefully I remember all of the authors. So the Light in the Forest by Conrad Richter. That's an old classic book, probably written, I don't remember, 1940s, 1950s probably. So I wrote about this book. While this book was probably written with young adults in mind, I'm considerably older and enjoyed it just the same. So I'm about 50. I'll be 50 in December. It's essentially the story of a white boy torn between the Indian and white worlds. How will he choose, or will the decision be made for him? Any more details and I'd be giving away part of the story. So it was, again, a good book for young adults. I read it when I was a young adult, and I recently read it again, as stated here. But I read it with my son, who's 11, just turned 11. Hopefully he liked it. I think he, generally liked the book. So I thought it was a good story. Tough Without a Gun. This is a biography of Humphrey Bogart by Stephen Canfer. Kanfer. This book I liked a lot. I've never read about Humphrey Bogart before, really. Just like a little movie book, very light text, not really about Humphrey Bogart as much as just some notes about the movies that he was in. But this was a biography, and it was pretty good. It was interesting, entertaining, generally well written, easy to read. I read it pretty quickly. I learned a lot about Humphrey Bogart and his part in movie history, and I do recommend that book. I read online some bad reviews of the book, and in looking at one or two facts that I had read online in bad reviews, when I looked them up myself, it was the reviewer who was wrong. So that's kind of interesting. I always have to check, like to check facts. So Canfer was more accurate in his writing than some people gave him credit for. I thought it was a good book. I'm not saying it's perfect. I have no way to know, but I thought it was good. I read another book called The Biblical God Doesn't Exist. I wrote here, surely a book like this could not be written without divine intervention. Haha. I read the paperback edition, which could have used, I don't know if it comes in hardcover, but the one I had was paperback, looked like it was print on demand. The layout could have been better. He needed help. The man who wrote it needed some help with getting the pages filled up. Some pages have almost full. Other pages have a paragraph. Then it goes to the next page. He needed some help with it, but I'm not going to hold that against him. He didn't really know how to do that, and I do wish he had help with it. But the book was actually really pretty good. The Biblical God Doesn't Exist. I really should tell you who wrote it. Hold on one second here. I got the internet right here. I'm going to tell you about this. Amazon and the Biblical God Doesn't Exist. John Espinoza. That was on the tip of my tongue. I just couldn't remember it. But John Espinoza. And actually, according to the reviews right now, it's got 44 reviews. And it's like about 4.5 stars. I don't know how many of those are real reviews, but mine is a real review. It was a very good book. So John, if you're seeing this, you wrote a pretty good book. I'd read more of your writing, and I do recommend that you publish this book, but get help with the outlay of it. Okay. Next book I read, The Red Badge of Courage, which also had 4 short stories tacked on to the end. This was Red Badge of Courage is by Stephen Crane. It's a classic. Definitely worth reading. I thought it was a very good book. A young Civil War soldier, young man, never been in battle before, wonders how he's going to do in his first battle. There is action in the book. A lot of behind the scenes thinking. It's mostly what's going on in his mind. There's other characters in the book, and we see how they perform under pressure. Good book. I liked it. The 4 short stories at the end also were impressive. I thought they were very well written. And Stephen Crane died young. Let me see, did I note here? Let's see. Stephen Crane. He died when he was 28 years old. And it's hard to believe that he wrote these stories obviously before he was 28. So in his early to mid 20s, I guess. And he was obviously a very talented writer, smart guy. And he died young. Too bad. Too bad for us and for him. He had a lot more to give, I think. So if you can find Red Badge of Courage, by the way, what I recommend getting is the edition by Signet, Signet. This is an edition that contains text that's not in the usual abridged edition, or I shouldn't say abridged, but the edition that's usually published, which was shortened, and that's the one that's the popular one. But if you can get the Signet edition, it contains additional text, not like a lot of it, but enough of it, it adds to the story, parts that were cut from the actual published book, and there's some notes in it also. So I do recommend that. Let's see, the story is in 24 chapters, and my copy, the paperback, was about 125 pages for the Red Badge of Courage part. So it's not like it's that long, but it was good. The other 4 stories afterwards were surprisingly good. Again, he died young, too bad. Yeah, he was a talented writer. So the Red Badge of Courage, good book. And Stephen Crane, a good writer. Okay, on to movies. So one movie that I forgot to mention last month that I watched was A Streetcar Named Desire. I don't know how I forgot to mention that movie, because it was so awesome. I mean, this is a great movie. And if you told me, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, even 2 years ago, I'd watch that movie and like it, I'd look at you like you're crazy. But as I get older, I'm into these older movies. I don't know. This movie was great. I had no idea, what it was going to be about. I knew nothing about it. I didn't watch for any particular reason other than I just, it just caught my fancy. I thought, I'm watching these Humphrey Bogart movies. I'll try something with Marlon Brando. And I wrote here, if acting means anything, then this movie is certainly 5 stars. I don't think actors can do any better than this. And it was just a great atmospheric movie, black and white. This came out about the same time that The African Queen came out with Humphrey Bogart, and that was in color. Both very good movies. The Streetcar Named Desire was just really awesome, and I want to watch it again. And I've some nights I'm thinking I'll watch it, and I was like, no, it's too soon. I don't want to overdo it. I want to save it and watch it again, and not too soon. Maybe once a year. Yeah, but it was that good. I really liked it. Okay, other movies that I watched during the month of March 2016. I watched Rebel Without a Cause with James Dean. I thought this movie was good, but I didn't think it was great. I could understand why it's a classic, but it just didn't really do much for me. It was just teen angst, and James Dean was clearly not a teen in the movie. I wasn't feeling the angst that he was feeling and the other characters were feeling. It just didn't touch me like I guess it touches some people. It was a good movie. I'm not saying it wasn't. It just, I wouldn't call it a 5-star movie. 3.5 stars. I thought it was overly dramatic without ever convincing me why it was overly dramatic. I guess was my biggest thing about the movie. It just seemed like everything was just overly dramatic, and I wasn't feeling it. Maybe if I watch it again, I'll feel it more. I don't know. But my honest review was it was a good movie, but overdone. Okay, Suspicion. It's an Alfred Hitchcock movie. It was a Cary Grant that was in Suspicion. This was a 1941 movie, and in this movie, nothing is what it seems. Then I wrote, yes it is, no it isn't, yes it is, no it isn't. Because it goes back and forth. Every time you think something, then it's not what you think it is, and it was just weird. But it was interesting. I liked the movie. It was good until I wrote here. It was good until the last minute. The ending was a bit of a letdown. Would have been better in the last second. And I'm gonna give away a spoiler here, so I'm just warning if you haven't seen the movie. In the last second, if Cary Grant had opened the door and I won't say it, but if you watch the movie in the last few seconds, there's like a resolution that wasn't completely satisfactory for me. I think it would have been much better if a door opened and you heard someone screaming and you saw a body go flying. Let's just put it that way. It would have been like, oh my god, I can't believe you did that. So, but it was a good movie. Definitely, I'll watch that again. I watched Cat on a Hot Tin Roof with Paul Newman. This as Streetcar Named Desire was by Tennessee Williams, so it was a Tennessee Williams play. Cat on a Hot Tin Roof was also a Tennessee Williams play. It was a good movie. I would not say it was better than A Streetcar Named Desire. Cat on a Hot Tin Roof was in color, had Elizabeth Taylor in it. It was good. It wasn't awesome. But it was really good. I mean, I can't say that it wasn't. It takes place in the South, same way as A Streetcar Named Desire did, and it's worth watching. It's a good period piece. Paul Newman was good in it. One of his early big roles. His best, I think, was in The Hustler with Jackie Gleason. Of course, he was in other classics too, like Butch Cassidy and Sundance Kid. But The Hustler is probably my favorite of them. Great movie if you haven't seen it. So, good movie. But I would put Streetcar Named Desire a little above it. Next movie I watched was The French Connection. I had never seen this movie before. The same way I had never seen The Godfather, which I watched and reviewed in the previous video. And French Connection, I wrote here, this movie was mostly about reckless endangerment of public safety. If you watch the movie, you'll know what I mean. If you've seen it, you know what I mean. Crazy driving down streets that in real life could never have happened. I mean, in Brooklyn, driving like that, it ain't gonna happen. I know firsthand, not gonna happen. But it was exciting. I didn't. The story. I wrote here that the car chase scene was exciting, but not completely realistic. And I wrote here that I've come to the conclusion that there really wasn't much of a story. There wasn't really much of a story. It's kind of this like drug bust, the whole movie. That's what the main idea of the movie is, but it just wasn't that on the edge of your seat kind of thing. I thought it was going to be more of a tense movie, more of a thrilling, not thrilling, the car chase was thrilling, but more of a thriller type of, just a tense, suspenseful movie. I can't really say that it was. The extras on the movie that I watched, my DVD came with extras, certainly made the movie more compelling. Having watched the extras, the documentaries about the movie, interviews and so forth, made me appreciate more about the movie. But just watching the movie on its own, it was good. It just didn't blow me away. Let's see here. I watched In a Lonely Place with Humphrey Bogart. Now, this movie was really good. This was a movie he did sometime in the 1950s, not too long before he died, probably. Maybe about 5-6 years before he died, which was, I think, 1956 or 1957. Very good movie. So that's all I'm going to say about it. I wrote here, great script, great actors, great sets, and you get the idea. So In a Lonely Place by Humphrey Bogart, if you can get that, I recommend watching that. I enjoyed that. Dead Reckoning. This was another Humphrey Bogart movie. I wrote here, not a bad movie, but I can't help but feel it's a second tier film. You know what I mean is it was like, like a B. If you had to rate some of Humphrey Bogart's movies, film noir movies, an A, this would be like a B. It was good, but it wasn't top notch. Marvin Miller as Krauss was really good, I wrote. Elizabeth Scott was clearly meant to serve as Bacall without being Bacall. Bogart's performance was standard. He was good, but nothing, special in this movie. But maybe that was just because the movie wasn't that special. But Bogart's always fun to watch anyway. That's why he became so well known today and such a great actor. Even in a bad movie, he's still amusing and entertaining. So a good movie, not a great movie, but worth watching, and I'll watch it again. Not every movie's going to be 5 stars, but it was good. The African Queen I watched again, Humphrey Bogart, and that was a 1951 movie. This movie was really pretty good. Takes place in 1914 Africa at the beginning of World War I, and this movie, for years, like the African Queen, I just couldn't understand why I would want to watch this movie when I was younger. Like just people on a boat in Africa, like I couldn't care less. But it was actually really entertaining. Not religious, and Katharine Hepburn's character in the movie, she plays was it a Methodist or Protestant? I don't remember what Christian sect, and she's very religious. And in real life, I don't think she was. I think she was somewhat of an atheist in real life. So, but at the time this movie was made, I don't know what she was. Maybe she had religious feelings, then I don't know. But I know later in life, by let's say the 70s, I don't think she was religious or believed in God and religion. But her part was very good. The movie was very good. I would have changed some things. Two things. The relationship between Bogart and Hepburn kind of goes from them being at odds with each other to right away they're embracing each other. Like it wasn't enough of a coming around to them liking each other like that. I felt kind of just happened. I mean, it's a movie and you only have so much time, but it just felt like it just came out of nowhere. That's how I felt. Maybe if I watch it again, I'll feel different about it. But the first time watching it, kind of hit me like they were just together too quickly, and because she was such a religious person in the movie, it's unclear that they consummated this relationship in any way other than like hugging and maybe kissing. It just nothing was ever very explicit. So that was questionable. Did they have sex? Did they not have sex? Like, you don't know. I'm gonna guess they didn't, which is a little bit hard to believe because Bogart's character was certainly a character that would. So who knows? At the end, the ending I thought was good, except I would have changed one part. I'm gonna just come out and say it. So sorry. I hope it doesn't ruin it for you. At the end, there's some foreshadowing by the director. They show a torpedo that Bogart's character made in the movie, laying in the water, and Bogart and Hepburn are captured on a German ship, and they're about to be hung, and they show you the torpedo in the water and that the boat's coming toward it, so you know that it's going to happen. I feel like they shouldn't have shown that torpedo. They should have just had the two characters like they're going to be hung, and like you're like, oh my god, I can't believe they're going to do this, and then like right when the noose is about to go around their neck, all of a sudden there's a loud explosion, and everybody just forgets about them and runs off to escape the sinking boat, and then you find out after when you see the Bogart and Hepburn in the water, then you realize and they see parts of their African Queen in the water that had the torpedo attached to it. Um, and then you know what happened. I thought that would have been more suspenseful. But by showing the torpedo in the water attached to a part of the African Queen which had previously sunk, they kind of give away the fact that it's going to happen. So I thought that that was something that they shouldn't have given away. They should have just followed through, like they were really going to hang the two main characters, and viewers would be like, oh my god, I can't believe they're going to do it. And then all of a sudden, boom, a big explosion that you just didn't see coming. So that's just my opinion. The last movie I watched during the month was Abbott and Costello Meet the Mummy. I loved Abbott and Costello as a kid. I mean, I watched all of those movies every week. They would be on TV, and I'd watch them again, repeats. I didn't care. I mean, who hasn't seen Abbott and Costello meet who was it, Frankenstein, and hasn't loved that movie? It was a great movie. So I bought actually a disc that had 4 movies on it with Abbott and Costello, and Abbott and Costello Meet the Mummy was one of them. The Frankenstein movie was there, Invisible Man, and I think it was Invisible Man, and Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. So far, the only one I watched is Abbott and Costello Meet the Mummy. It was a good movie, slapstick. What was odd is I haven't seen it in many, many years, any Abbott and Costello. And certainly, you know, I enjoyed the movie more when I was, 10 years old and 15 years old. Being almost 50, it was good, but it didn't hold up completely. A little bit goofy. It was fun. Slapstick kind of stuff and some funny jokes, but overall, it didn't have the same impact it did when I watched it when I was younger. But it was fun kind of reliving it. And hopefully I'll get my son to watch it soon. He might like that kind of stuff, because they're funny guys, and I could see a kid liking it more than me at this time in my life. So that was how I entertained myself in the previous month of March 2016. Now today my family went to a bookstore in Connecticut, and we go there maybe once every 3 months. It's always fun. We eat out, we buy books. So I'm going to show you what I picked up today for those interested in my book haul. So I'm interested in the American West, mostly history and fiction. Read some science fiction, some mystery I got into, which I haven't even read yet, but because of the fact I started to watch those old Humphrey Bogart movies, kind of picked up some Raymond Chandler books and Dashiell Hammett, who wrote The Maltese Falcon. So, and astronomy, some religious / atheism books. So this is what I picked up. This was only $1. My Life on the Plains by George Custer, which I have in other versions, but for $1 it was in nice shape, and I couldn't believe it was just $1. Most of the books, the history books, are maybe $4 or $5 at this store, but this was $1, and maybe someone made a mistake. I don't know, but heck, $1, I'll take it. Nice little book for a reading copy, just cute. For those who remember a TV show who like to watch westerns, there was a show called High Chaparral, and this was on around the same time when Bonanza was coming towards its end. Actually, I think High Chaparral was a better show than Bonanza, which was around for a lot more time. This is kind of more like a young adult book. It's hardcover, but it's more like for young adults. The story it's called Apache Way, authorized edition. The cast is on the front. I think I'll read this. I'm just kind of curious about it, and looks for $4. I figure what the hell, I'll get it, and it was in nice shape. So I picked that up. Now this book here, Shadow Warrior by J.C. Gotcher. Gotcher, $4. I put the sleeve on it. I put all my books in book bags, the paperbacks, and the hardcovers with dust jackets. I have rod art sleeves that I put on them. I like to take care of my books. So this book looked interesting. My wife looked it up for me on her phone while we were there. On Amazon, had good reviews, so hopefully those reviews were accurate. But I figured I'd get this. And I have so many books to read, so who knows if I'll ever get to read it, but I'm going to do my best. To get to everything. Okay, this book here, The Searches, $4, paperback, soft cover. I have this book in hardcover, have not had the chance to read it yet, but for commuting or just for reading, I like to keep the hardcover in like perfect condition if I can, and save it. So this I plan to read hopefully in the next year or two. It's got generally good reviews, and I'm interested in this. So it's not just about the movie; it's about Quanah Parker, who part of the movie is a little bit based on. So, Comanches and the John Wayne movie. So it looks good. It's by Glenn Frankel. $4. It's in excellent shape. So that was a good bargain. Let's see here. From Fort Laramie to Wounded Knee, and these are the recollections basically of Charles W. Allen, who was a Westerner, I guess 1880s and 1890s. It says here during the 1870s all the way to Wounded Knee, the tragic day at Wounded Knee. So for over 20 years he lived out west, and these are his reminiscences edited by Richard Jensen. And this was $4 or $5, I don't remember, but it's paperback, and it's or soft cover, I should say. Generally, I call these smaller books paperbacks, like the novels, and bigger books like this I refer to as soft cover. I don't know if that's accurate, but that's how I do it. So $4 or $5, it was like new, pretty much. Good bargain there. Let's see here. The Adventures of Captain Bonneville. Now, I have this book in some different versions. I don't mind buying different versions. I have especially if it's like just going to be a reading copy. But the reason why I bought this one is because there was an introduction by Anthony Brandt, Brandt, and I figured that for the few pages of his introduction, maybe he says something interesting that's not in another book. If any of my other copies have introductions, which I'm pretty sure some of them do. So anyway, figured $4, and what the hell, I'll get it just for the introduction. Let's see, I picked up in the last couple of months some film books on Western films, and I have maybe 4 or 5 already, and I saw this one today, The West That Never Was by Tony Thomas. And it's a softcover, big book. It looks interesting. Hope I get the time to read all of these books. What really sold me on the book, although I was going to buy it anyway, but what really got me to not even have to think about it for more than a few seconds was it was dedicated to the memory of Colonel Timothy J. McCoy. Tim McCoy was a Western movie star back in, early 1900s, and he probably did some silent films, I'm guessing, and then he went on to do talking parts. And I read a book of his, kind of like an autobiography, and it was really good. I really liked it. How accurate it was, I don't know, but the book was really good. I really enjoyed it, and he made me like him through the book. So anything with Tim McCoy, I picked up a few more things that mention him, or by or about him, and so this looks interesting. John Wayne's on the cover, Clint Eastwood, Burt Lancaster, and someone who I'm not sure. I don't think it's Tim McCoy, but an old-time cowboy. And this was $4, and it's in great shape. So let's see, what else do I have here? I have this book here. You should recognize the man, Bogey. That's what the book is called, Bogey. Of course, it's Humphrey Bogart. And this is the films of Humphrey Bogart. I actually have another book that also is tells all the films that Humphrey Bogart did. And this one is by Clifford McCarty, Citadel Press. And I'll just show you here. It's basically who's in the movie, maybe some little blurbs about the movie, and pictures. So, the cast and when it was made and so forth. Mostly I got it because I really liked the cover. Probably came with a dust jacket originally, but it wasn't there. And for $4, I figured I'll get it. Add it to my Humphrey Bogart collection that I now have amassed about 7 or 8 books on him maybe in the last couple of months. Okay, down to some paperbacks. All of these paperbacks were $1 each. Some of these on eBay would go for like $10-15. Certainly in a Strand in New York City, they would go for $10-15, which is a complete ripoff. So let's see here. Maybe these wouldn't go for that much on the internet. I was thinking of Strand actually when I first said the price, but eBay came out of my mouth. I'm not sure what these would go for on eBay, but I picked up Dashiell Hammett, The Maltese Falcon. I put it in a book bag and it was in great shape. And Red Harvest, also by him. These books, I think they date back to, if I remember correctly looking in it before, about 1960, 61. So figure 40, 50, they're getting close to not too far away from 60 years, so right, about 55 years at least. They're in great shape. I mean, I'm not even sure that they were read, and they were just sitting there $1. Even if I don't read them, I mean, I have other copies to read, so just to have them in the bag and just put them out as nice art, that's what I like. It's cool fun. Let's see, Will Henry, Pitchfork Patrol. Henry was a Western writer, popular Western writer in the mid-1900s. I have this book with an old vintage book with a different cover, and I'd rather not read that one, so I figured I'll pick this up. It's only $1. So if I ever get around to reading it, this will be my reading copy, but it's not... I mean, it's in great shape. I just call it a reading copy because I don't want to touch the old one. Let's see, what else do I have here? The Caves of Steel by Isaac Asimov. Now, I read this book a long time ago, different cover, but this was like in mint condition. And again, $1. Keep saying it, $1. So, cover, I really like the cover, and what the hell? I'll get it. Let's see here. Chief Joseph by Bill Dugan. Actually have this book already, and I couldn't remember for sure, and I was just too lazy to look at my tablet and see if I had it. So I just figured for $1, I'll just get it. I like the cover anyway. Bill Dugan is not the author's real name. It's a pen name, and I'm not sure of his real name right now. So now I have 2 copies of this, but it looks, and I like the cover, so sometimes, gotta treat yourself. $1. Okay, How the West Was Won. This was a great TV series. I have the first 2 seasons on DVD, waiting for the 3rd. I don't know if or when it's ever coming out. I actually should check Amazon and see if it's been updated for season 3. This book I have already. It's kind of a beat-up copy, and the story with that is I purchased it from a guy on the internet who said it was like new or something like that, and I ordered it, and I couldn't believe what I got. I mean, it was just ridiculous. This book was not like new. If you're a bookseller and writing a book like that is new, or like new, you don't know what you're doing. The book was beat up, and he denied. He was just like, "No, I know what I'm doing," and he wound up giving me my money back, and I kept the book. And I've been looking for a nice copy since, and $1 sitting there on the shelf. If I had to grade this from like 1 to 10, it's about a 9. So, finally got my good copy. Let's see. This book here, I don't even really want to show it. No, not that there's anything. It's not a dirty book or anything like that. I don't even buy that. Well, I'll show you the book and I'll explain to you. It's The Outlaw Josie Wales by Forrest Carter. Covers is a cool cover. It's got Clint Eastwood on the cover. Politically, I don't think I agree with Clint Eastwood about anything. But the reason that's not why I didn't want to show it. Forrest Carter was not his real name. His name was Asa, and was it Asa Carter? I'm not sure. Not sure at the moment, but his real name was Asa, I believe, and he was like a leader in like a neo-Nazi organization, I guess in the 70s, 60s, and 70s. I don't know how far back it goes, and so I don't want to support a guy like that. But the cover was cool. It was $1, and I don't know why I bought it. Probably shouldn't have. I think I read the book at some time in the past, maybe like 20, 30 years ago, before I knew anything about Asa Carter. And but I don't know. I just picked it up. I just thought the cover's cool, and what the hell. I could throw it out if I wanted to, or give it to somebody. I don't know if I'd read it again. It's hard to understand why a guy would. What's interesting, I think, why I bought it was, thinking about it, is that it's kind of interesting that a guy like that would write a book like this, and he also wrote some other books that were kind of sympathetic to other people, other cultures, especially Native Americans, particularly Native Americans. But yet here he is like a neo-Nazi guy. So did he have a change of heart, or was like who was the real man? So it's kind of interesting, maybe like to read the book and like think like, how could a guy that like thinks like this write a book like this? I mean, he wrote another book called Cry Geronimo. Was republished. I think it had two names. I forget which was the original. Watch for Me on the Mountain. And I feel like I'm giving him all this publicity. I shouldn't be talking about him. But this book called Cry for Me Geronimo, or AKA Watch for Me on the Mountain, I think it was called. I read this when I was younger, 2 or 3 times before I knew anything about who he was, and the book was like so good. I was really into that book, and when I found out about the real man, I was like I couldn't believe it. I got rid of the book. I was like really depressed, because how could a guy that like wrote a book that this good, and it just didn't give the sense of hatred that he had apparently in real life? How could he write that book? I couldn't understand it. And I think it was that memory that made me buy this, like maybe to read it again and try to think like are there any signs in this book they're kind of hidden, or something, I don't know. Just interesting that like a split personality, you could write one way but then like live your life another way. So that was what I bought today. I probably have bored the hell out of you. It's been almost, according to the timer here, almost 44 minutes right now. And it's late. It's 2:30 in the morning. So that's it. My second video. The next video will be at the end of April or the beginning of May 2016, as I count down to retirement for my wife and I. I had mentioned to her about being in videos and doing something, and she doesn't want to do it. She's thinks she'll look bad on the camera, and maybe she won't know what to say. Like, I mean, I'm just winging it, but obviously I'm talking. She might just sit here and be like, oh, I don't know what to say. And so, but I thought it would be cool if she wanted to, review books and movies, or just talk about work and life on camera. But she doesn't want to. Maybe I'll change her mind, but I doubt it. Anyway, that's it. Signing out from my second video. And see you next month. Oh, by the way, here I go again. Nobody watched my first video. I had like one click. It said in like think it tells how long the person watched was 1 second. So nobody watched. I doubt anybody's going to watch this. Basically, I just talked to myself for 45 minutes here. So, maybe someone will discover these videos on their own and tell other people. I don't know. Hope I haven't bored you too much. But I don't even know if anybody's ever going to watch this. So, take care. Bye.